Hey y'all, back with another video. This one is going to be on a different process that I do when it comes to magnetizing parts onto a kit. In this particular video, I'm going to show you a different way, which instead of magnet to magnet, as we've done with other pieces that I've shown before, this is going to be a rod to magnet method. I will get into the breakdown of what that is, but first let me show you what you're going to need. You'll need a drill, of course. I have two different bits for two different sizes. One is for the magnet to be able to be placed in, and the other one is for the rod. So you don't need, the rod is obviously thinner in diameter than the magnet, so you don't need such a big drill bit for that. A brass rod, which is going to be the guide, because the process is for this rod to be, let's say, on the hand, and it's going to go in through here, through the brass, and connect at the other end to the magnet. So this is a metal rod, and the magnet is gonna attract it. Obviously, the brass rod won't be as long, and it's gonna be a little piece because it's gonna fit inside of there to guide the rod in. A toothpick that I always use to move the glue around. I use Gorilla Glue, as I said before, and this is Instaset. I was asked before to explain what this is. This is basically an accelerant for this glue. I get it from Maplewood Hobbies, but there are a lot of other companies that make Instaset. I guess it's just one brand, Instaset, and then different distributors brand it. I'm not too familiar with that, but basically I get mine from Maplewood Hobbies, but there's different ones. So if there's any confusion, I apologize. There's Zip Kicker, there's a lot of different other accelerants. And we're gonna use Sabertooth here to demonstrate the process. All right, so I did another video where I showed you how to do magnet to magnet installation. So this is a primed kit, and there's a magnet installed here, and both of these heads have magnets installed. There's one there, and there's another one there. I've shown the process of how I go ahead about doing it, but basically, you have your, on this one, you're gonna have that seam, unfortunately, because it's a swap out head, but you have your magnet to magnet touching, and you have, no issues when it comes to the magnet to magnet. All right. Now, the process that I'm going to be showing you now is one of this right here. So it's not the prettiest thing right now because I'm going to end up filling it up with Abe's epoxy sculpt as I did this, and once primed, it's going to look like that, nice and neat. But these are short work in progress videos just to show you guys the methods. So ultimately, what you have is the magnet is in there, as you can see, and then you have the brass pretty much centered off so that the metal rod, once it's installed into the hand like this, as you can see there, then it'll be guided and it'll be, nice and it's another magnetized fit. So, it's another way to get around certain areas where, let's say, it's a tight fit. The magnet is rather small. So, sometimes to get a drill bit in there to work, your fingers can't get in there. This is another method, and it's a secure one as well because it's metal to metal, and it's a nice fit. I mean, you could hear the click. So let's get to it. All right, so I've cleared everything out of my way. You want to have a nice work area. Like I said, I'm gonna concentrate because you're gonna be doing work involving drilling, and you're going to be, you working with your hands, so you don't want to accidentally, hurt yourself. So just be very careful. Always make sure as well that you have safety goggles, so that when you do your work, nothing bounces back up and hits you in the face. You are drilling into resin, and there's parts flying everywhere. It's a very brittle consistency depending on, the actual casting. But just be safe, guys. Make sure you have your safety goggles again, and make sure that you take all precautions necessary and keep a clear head while you're doing this work to avoid any injury. Okay, so I've done some pre-drilling, but somebody did ask me, oh, if they would like to see the drilling aspect of it as well. Guys, it's nothing too complicated. Don't be afraid to work with the kit. Basically, you're just gonna drill in. It's a process. You take your time, start slow, and then slowly work your way in until you get to the desired depth that you need. Like, I know that I'm gonna have a rod that's gonna insert, and I need to be deep in there, but you don't want to drill out and have your drill bit coming out of your elbow there. So just take your time, work slow, and you don't have to be full speed all the time. You could take your time slowly, work your drill slow, and then come on in. Now we want to do a dry run with our magnet. We're gonna just push it in there. If it doesn't fall in correctly, just play with it until you get it. This is one of the reasons why I keep the toothpick around, because it doesn't attract the magnet because it's not metal. Wood does not attract metal, so it's easy to work that way. All right, so we have a fit, and we can see that there's a lot of area between the magnet and the end of the peg. So we're going to take a measurement by installing this. This is the brass rod. Now, brass does not attract to metal, so what we want to do is mark off where the rod ends. So right now it's kind of tough working here on camera, but all right, so the rod, I'm gonna mark it here. All right, there you go. So I have my mark. I know that back here the magnet is at the bottom already put into the kit, and it's touching there, it's flush. And then what I did is I just marked it there. So now when I come in and make my cut, everything should be right on plan. Magnet at the end, this is gonna be right at the tip of this, a little, maybe even a little bit more recessed, and kind of like that. All right, let's take a whack at it. So I pulled out my Dremel. This is my Dremel tool, and I have here a metal blade, well, a metal cutter. It's called a metal cutter. It's one of the blades that you can get in a kit with the Dremel. So I'm gonna put on my safety glasses. Don't forget, always safety first. So let me put these on, and then I'm gonna go ahead and cut where I made my indication on this, which is here, right there. Okay, so it's gonna get a little loud, but folks want to actually see the drill cutting, or the actual cutting of the now, something to keep in mind is that this is getting hot as I'm doing this, because this conducts heat. So you saw how that slipped there? So did you guys see how the Dremel kind of like bounced and slipped? That's why you got to have your safety goggles on, guys. You don't want to take any chances with anything bouncing back into your eye, God forbid, and you hurt yourself. All right, so now that we've made our cut, I'm going to be using a needle file, and these you can pick up on eBay as a set. They come all different sizes, all different shapes. You have your flat ones, you have flat, pointy, round. So I'm just gonna grab one, and what we're gonna do is, if you can see after the cut on this side, I have some excess inside. So just take your bit, your needle file, and just file that out, because you want to make sure that your rod is going to be going in and out as smooth as possible. You don't want anything to alter its way in. Okay, so now we have a nice transition where the rod, which we had already pre-cut, is going to be able to slide in and touch the magnet, which the magnet will be on the other side. And then you'll have perfect contact. So our magnet is sitting snug in there and nothing is glued in. This is all dry runs first. You don't want to glue anything in because once that magnet is glued in there, it'll take a hell of a lot to get that out. So this is, make sure you dry fit everything first. So now that we put this in, I see that you see it's touching the magnet, but it's coming out a little bit. I don't want that. So I'm going to shave that down with the Dremel again. I'm going to this time hold it with a plier and make another cut just to take it in a little shorter, because this is going to be very hot because of the Dremel cut. So I'm going to use a pair of pliers to hold it, and then I'm going to come and make the cut I'm going to cut a sliver off of it. Okay, I went ahead and did that. Like I said, our magnet is still there, unglued, and now I cut this a little shorter. Did the same thing with the needle file. Make sure that the inside is nice and no obstacles in there. And now we'll give it a test run. All right, so we can see that it's right under it, which is perfect. Okay, so now we're gonna get on and we're gonna glue this. And when we glue it, we want to make sure that this ends up being, you know, as close to the center as possible. Maybe holding it there. All right, so now we got to get our magnet out of there, and it's not coming out. So you need to just use another, you know, set of magnets there, or anything metal. You can actually even use the rod and just pull it out. You see? So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna apply our glue. Take the glue, and we're going to do a nice little dab in there so that the magnet can attach. So this is tricky because I'm working on the camera here, so I really don't want to mess this up, but the glue doesn't have to be a lot right now, because what we want to do is we want to secure the magnet. We don't really care about the rest of the stuff right now. We just want to secure the magnet. So we'll drop it in and we'll make sure that it's just flush all the way down, because we did do our measurement. Okay, so once that's in there, hit it with an Instaset. Then come back, push down with your toothpick, make sure that it's flush, move it around a little bit like this. Just make sure that it's in there. Any excess Instaset that's in there, you could just come with a Q-tip and dry it out. So our magnet is in there, and we can test how secure it is just by coming with this again, and now it doesn't pull out like before. Remember how I just pulled it out with this? Now it doesn't do that. So we're good. Now we're gonna do the little brass. With the brass, what you want to do is use your wood toothpick, put it through, and then just guide it, let it drop in. Then you can take your Gorilla Glue, and basically what I do is I just come in on one side. One side is enough, and just make sure that it's dripping in, but not into the hole, just on the side wall of this, and then just move it around. Come back some more. See how I'm doing it like on the wall, but not inside of the brass hole. So just make sure that it's in the center when you pull out your stick. Instaset. And let that do a little work. And as you can see, that's nicely in there. The Instaset is just enough to grab this and leave it in place, and you have no glue in on your magnet because you came on the wall on all around the outside. Now I can come back with more glue and little by little fill it in if I so choose to. If I want to go glue, or I can do the Aves epoxy sculpt, and it will ultimately be like this, just filling in all the sides with Aves epoxy sculpt, and it'll be a nice secure fit. That's the way I like to go about doing things. So I'm going to leave this like this for now, and then I'll do the Aves epoxy sculpt all around when I finish doing the mixture for it. I mean, I'll answer this question now because I'm pretty sure I'm going to get it, and that question is, what if I get, glue inside of the magnet? I don't get any glue. I mean, I've been doing this for a while now, so I kind of like make sure that the bottom, when I make my cuts on the brass, you see that they're not, see how that's like uneven? No, I always make sure that they're flat so that when I turn around and do the magnet work, I know that my brass is going to be sitting flush on my magnet, and that I'm not going to have anywhere for it to seep in on it. But I guess another easier way to do it, if you're just starting out, is to do this work out here first. So you can glue your brass to your magnet. Just put like a little dot of super glue, and then Instaset it out here. And then once this is secured to this, then just drop this whole thing into there, and it'll already be done. You don't have to worry about putting glue. You just put the glue all the way at the bottom so that the magnet holds, and then later on, once it's secure, then you come ahead and you and do your Instaset. So you see I got no glue in there on either side because I make sure the glue is all on the outside on the walls and just holding it in place. Once you stuff the Aves epoxy sculpt in there and that dries, that's going nowhere. So I switched out my drill bit because now I don't need to make a hole this big. Now I'm just making a hole, obviously, for this. Now, you don't want it to be a real thin hole where this is just gonna fit snug, super snug in, because then you don't, this going into this, you're gonna need a little play so that, this might, the dream would be for it to be straight. But see that there's this little play inside of here. When you put the hand in, this glue is gonna the glue is gonna secure the pin conformed for it could fit in perfect. But it might be like perfectly here or perfectly there. You know what I mean? It might not be perfectly in the middle. That's why you need to give a little play inside of the hand. So what we're gonna do is, as I did in the previous video, I want to drill right into the center. So corner to corner, make your X. Now we know exactly in the center where we're going to come and drill. And I'm going to do this on cam, so pardon the noise. But what you want to do is slowly do it. And you can see how it's coming little by little. Now, what you don't want to do is drill so much. Like, look at this, look at the angle. This is gonna come out here. If it does, no big deal, because we can always use Aves epoxy sculpt. But if you can avoid it, try to avoid it. See, my hole is getting deeper and deeper. So I have to, that would be enough right there for it to grip. But look how long the rod is. So I may have to make an adjustment with this rod and cut it shorter. But at the same time, I want it to be enough in here where it won't slip out. Now remember, this hand is at the bottom. This hand is here. So the reason why I'm doing this magnetized here is for transport for all of this and the nails. You know, these blades, I don't want them, they've snapped off in the past, you know, and I've had to send them back and get them repaired. So you learn as you do more and more of these kits. At the same time, I used to glue this in and send it, but then when I'm painting it, you know, trying to get in that little nook right there where his hand is almost touching, and under there, you know, it's a nightmare. So yeah, I could paint it and then at the end stick it, but like I said, I don't want to take any chances with this. This is why I'm doing this installation. So I've gone as deep as I'm gonna go with this. I don't want to keep going. As you can see, it's significant. That's enough, way more than enough for the glue to grab on. And if I keep going, I'm gonna end up protruding out through here. I don't want to do that. So what we do is, our rod we already know is too thick, too long. If we try to go and do the fit, as you can see, is already hitting on the inside and there's still all of that space left. So what you do is, we're gonna guesstimate here what we're gonna do. We're already gonna be as flush as possible here. We know that like that is inside. Then we're gonna come up, pull this out, and put it into the hole, right? So we know, right now we know that, we can try this again, where our mark is, that is all inside. So we can more or less say that if we come up maybe this much, we can try that. That would be, this is all inside the forearm, and this is what's going to grip inside of the hand part. So let's give it a shot. I'm gonna come up a little higher because it's better to be longer and just work your way backwards than to cut it too short, and then you just have to go get another rod. All right, so I made my cut. I cut the rod shorter, and now what we'll do is put that in there, and then we'll try to put it in with the hole to see, and yeah, see that fits. It's perfectly snug in there, and I know now that when I glue this rod into here, it's gonna fit perfectly in. So what we'll do is we'll take this out, come in with our glue. Now remember, the first thing we're gonna do is just put a dab in there. All we want to do is put enough for it to grab and hold. We're going to let the Instaset do its job. Okay, so we're gonna put this in, move it around to make sure that it's gonna grip. Now you have to be fast with this because once you Instaset it, you do have a little time, so let's do that. We'll Instaset it, hold this out a little bit, and then just come on in and make sure that it's in there. Push in. You want to make sure that it's touching in there. Okay, sorry I went off camera a little bit there, but basically it's done. So this is in there. Like I said, you can always come back in, add more glue, but now, you know, your magnet is installed. And now this is not nice. So, you know, another method to be able to magnetize things and just make it a little bit simpler and doesn't have to be magnet on magnet. You know, if that's something that's not feasible, imagine trying to get a little magnet in there and making it just to be perfectly touching this. You know, this is just another neat way to get things done quick and, you know, magnetized, which is always good. Everybody always wants magnets and be able to, you know, display things on and off. And there you go. Nice other method. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one, learned a little something. As I say, you know, magnets are not the easiest thing. You know, working on camera is even harder because you have to try to guide your way through this as you do it. But, you know, we're going to keep trying to do these little videos and keep the information going. And hopefully, you know, if anybody needs to pick up anything or learn a little something, you know, I'm always more than anxious to share. All right, guys, so until next time, take care.